is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shasheena. Rolle. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Tonight, traffic police are continuing the probe into a deadly traffic accident during the early hours on Saturday morning. One man was killed and 2 others are still hospitalized in serious condition. Now, while police have not yet released the identity of the fatality victim, Shasheena News has confirmed that he is 49-year-old Fritz Nordalis, alias Freeze. Now, in this report, Joan Davis Rolle talks with traffic officials about this accident that has left them searching for answers.
The tragic fatal accident occurring during the wee hours Saturday morning. This was one of the vehicles that burst into flames with its occupants barely getting out alive. Other vehicle involved in the accident, unfortunately, this person did not survive. His body was burnt beyond recognition. The shells of what used to be a white 2004 Ford F-250 truck driven by a male and a maroon 1999 Buick driven by a Grand Bahama man were all that were left as police officials worked well into the early morning hours. Traffic at the various points of Poinciana and East Atlantic Drive, Freeport, were cordoned off. Traffic was diverted as investigators combed through debris, inspected the mangled wreckage, and searched for leads on the road and in nearby bushes where both vehicles ended up on impact. Officer in charge of the Police Traffic Division on Grand Bahama, ASP Kenwood Taylor, on the initial investigations.
Investigations reveal that the truck which was traveling north along Atlantic Drive and the car which was traveling west along Poinciana had an accident. Both vehicles separated on impact and were engulfed in flame. 2 persons were injured. They were taken to the Round Memorial Hospital. One was taken to the hospital by way of a private vehicle, the other by way of an ambulance. 1 person succumbed to his injuries at the scene of the accident.
The fire engines were called in. How long did it take you to bring the fires under control before you could move it and assess what was going on?
The fire trucks came to the scene almost immediately and they were able to contain the blaze, but it was far too late.
Eyewitnesses recalled hearing a loud crash and seeing balls of fire. Passerby Mario Sawal, who did not want to appear on camera, recounted the tragic turn of events as he, along with others, worked against the clock to rescue the injured men from the burning vehicles.
The truck caught immediate fire. What happened was that the 2 other guys who were in the other Buick, they were both unconscious. One we pulled out, one was actually literally thrown out the car because when he came out of shock, he revived and pulled him and dragged him to the car, and then the driver of the other vehicle we dragged to the car, but as the truck engulfed in flames, we didn't even know if who was in there or not. And then as the fire died down, it was discovered that, another person was on the other side of the truck, burnt together. And I mean, it was gruesome. I'm grateful for some other citizens who gave a hand in that. But for the other side, the onlookers, instead of them getting involved and trying to help, they just, stand around. And, that's a shame because, if I was in an accident, I wish someone could have stopped and helped me. I was like a burning house on fire. And it was, like I said, really tragic because the thing about it, no one could get to the truck and no one could, because everything was engulfed in flames. Everyone was paranoid of the explosion.
People call you a hero.
Well, I don't want no credit. It's just straight up like this. It's an accident. That's the other human being's life. If I was in an accident, I want someone to save my life.
Joan Davis Rolle, Shasheena Network News.
In other news, 2 men were robbed of close to $5,000 during an apparent armed robbery in the Bell Channel area overnight. The incident occurred around 10:20 p.m. The men told police that they were walking in the Bell Channel area when they were approached by the assailant brandishing a gun. The gunman robbed one victim of $2,500 and the other of $1,500 in cash. The gunman is said to have a bright complexion, is about 5 feet 7 inches tall, and slim built. And a short time earlier, police were told that gunshots were heard in the Caravel Beach area. Officers responded and found 9mm ammunition spent in the area. Officers then, acting on a tip, went to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where they were told that a man was being treated for a gunshot wound to the right thigh. The victim is presently helping police with their investigations into this matter. Police on Grand Bahama seizing a quantity of suspected drugs over the weekend in two separate matters. Reports say around 11 o'clock Saturday night, the Drug Enforcement Unit received a tip that led them to the Dover Sound area, where they discovered 5 clear packages of suspected marijuana in a duffel bag in bushes near the canal. Police say the estimated value is $62,000. Now, just hours before that incident, around 9 p.m. on Saturday, officers of the Mobile Division, while on patrol in Bartlett Hill 8 Mile Walk, stopped and searched a maroon Chevy Tahoe. Police are continuing investigations into that matter. Handcuffed and shackled, Larry Dorelis, the man who was on the run from Abaco police, was arraigned in court this morning here in Freeport. He appeared before Magistrate Helen Jones in Magistrate Court number 3 for 3 counts of housebreaking and stealing, 2 counts of causing damage, escape from lawful custody, 2 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, and possession of dangerous drugs. He pleaded guilty to the offenses and was sentenced to 7 years at Her Majesty's prison. He was also arraigned before Magistrate Debbie Ferguson in Magistrate Court number 1 for 2 counts of causing damage. He pleaded guilty to 1 count and was fined or given the option of 6 months imprisonment. The other matter was adjourned to the 13th of March for trial. He was also arraigned for causing harm. He pleaded not guilty and was granted bail in the sum of $1,000 with 2 sureties. This matter was also adjourned to the 13th of March for trial. Dorelis was arrested in Abaco late last week. And after months of legal wrangling, Butler's food store is no longer in receivership. Tonight, the owner of the specialty store is talking about the impact the legal challenge has had on his business. Butler's specialty food store is now back in the hands of President and CEO Jeff Butler. This coming after the company was placed in receivership 5 months ago. He says this occurrence stemmed from a dispute between him and his landlord, Hans Babak.
A lot of the public think that we weren't paying the rent because we couldn't. We weren't paying the rent because we didn't want to pay Hannes Babak the rent, LT Investments. The reason is he owes us twice as much as we owe him, and he wouldn't pay us. Remember the time you guys were here and they blocked off the parking lot for 3 days illegally? All of those items, including the air conditioning that we've been supposedly being billed for. There's a lot of open issues in the lease we have with LT Investments. It has an arbitration clause.
Butler says his lawyers took the issue to court, but on September, without notification, he learned that receivers were appointed.
They knew it was an illegal appointment, and the judge, who's very busy in the Supreme Court here in Freeport, finally came to the conclusion that it was.
For those 5 months, he says Butler's food store suffered hundreds of thousands of dollars in loss, partly because he says the receivers had no clue how to run a food store.
In January of 2012, when Ron Jones and I ran the place, we did $1,023,521. Under the receivers, they did last month $582,000. We lost sales of $441,000.
Butler adds that he also lost valuable customers who were unable to purchase specialty foods while the company was in receivership.
Come on back. I apologize profusely for the stupidity of the last 5 months. It was totally out of our controls. And as you know, our court system, they take their time and do it right. So there's nothing we could have done about it.
Stay with us, the Bahamas Tonight. The Northern Edition continues right after this.